A day after Prime Minister Mark Carney said he wouldn't rule out the possibility that Canada's military could have a role in the Middle East conflict. Canada's Chief of Defence Staff elaborated. Here's what General Jennie Carignan said on the sidelines of a defence conference in Ottawa today.
We are not talking about participating to Epic Fury per se. This is not a mission that we are considering. However, our Gulf partners may require defense and support. So within that context, these would be the type of military options that we could consider.
General Carignan said that Canada is communicating with allies to gather information and to send liaison officers to the Middle East. She says the purpose is to allow Canada to be in a position to adjust to the situation there. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Steve Nolan was a member of the Royal Canadian Regiment, served with the Canadian Armed Forces for 25 years, deployed to Afghanistan in 2008, and we've reached him in Markham, Ontario this evening. And first of all, I want to ask you to respond and help us interpret what we just heard from General Carignan.
Well, I think that it's prudent military planning whenever there's world events going on this way to engage and find out more of what our allies are doing. And I think it's a really good question that I think a lot of Canadians should maybe ask themselves and engage in, and maybe there should be some parliamentary debate on should there be more or less Canadian engagement in world events right now.
But I wonder if Canada really is in a position to do anything more than maybe a small symbolic role. I saw a report last year of the readiness of Canadian forces, which is already a small armed forces, and the kind of readiness percentage was fairly low. Are you concerned, even if there's a political will to get involved in some kind of defensive role in the Middle East, and it's not even clear what that would be, but do you think we have the capability to do that?
Well, in the planning, as I would imagine, options will be discussed and what we have available to give, if that fits into something that an ally requires, and then the Canadian government deems that as a necessary thing. I don't think that the Canadian military has ever been in the business of kind of making promises that it can't keep.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, now the reason we booked you actually was a different topic, but when General Carignan's statements came up, we thought we'd run them by you. The Trump administration is facing some criticism for social media posts, and it edits together actual footage from strikes on Iran with footage from a video game. We're going to play a little excerpt right now. So the Post has footage from the very popular video game Call of Duty, which uses a modern military setting, combined with real images of U.S. military strikes on targets in this current conflict with Iran, and edited in the style of a video game trailer. And what was your, Steve, initial reaction to this video?
Well, the concept of warfare is very, very disconnected from what people can understand and are familiar with. So I imagine it was an attempt at a way to kind of maybe connect with people back home, or maybe with their political base in a way that can be understood and maybe get some, maybe a lot, of play on social media. That being said, I think it diminishes and maybe discredits the sacrifice and the seriousness of the business at hand.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about that. You know, I remember back in the Gulf War, I think it was the first Gulf War, the United States releasing pictures, video of bombing strikes. And you know, the reason they were doing that is they wanted to say these are surgical strikes, look how precise they are. We didn't know if we saw all the videos, but we saw those videos. But the other thing is, even then, and we're talking, what, maybe 35 years ago, people said it kind of reduced war to a video game. And I kind of feel like for somebody like you, who knows what war can really be like, the possibility of it being reduced to a video game must be something that troubles you.
It is very interesting in the sense that it's the distances of warfare are greater and greater. And video clips like that can make it seem much more like a video game. And having a video mash of those things, it does seem almost as if it was bound to happen at some point. But it really diminishes, I think, the reality of the situation, because what you have is this unlimited liability. The soldiers, the sailors, the air crew, the operators, they have put their trust in the command structure and in the government of the day to take care of them, to use their lives wisely, to expend their safety in a judicious way. And when you have a video game, something like that, it really diminishes kind of the seriousness of what's being dealt there. And I think that I would certainly say that the wives, the spouses, the parents, and maybe even the children of people who are involved and of soldiers who are deployed might not feel that their loved one's life is being taken as seriously as perhaps it should be.
It is always interesting to hear the perspective of former Canadian Armed Forces members on issues like this. Steve Nolan, retired Lieutenant Colonel with the Royal Canadian Regiment. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me, Ian.